At the second round of the Tata Steel Masters 2022, we were in for a treat because Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, faced off against Anish Giri. Now, the two have always had this little bit of rivalry, friendly rivalry, you can say, on the chessboard, be it on Twitter, be it anywhere. And Anish had beaten Magnus recently at the World Blitz Championship. That was a very nice game, after which Anish had a little bit of celebration. He pumped his fists, he winked at the camera. And so here, Magnus was raring for revenge. And also, it's classical chess, and he has this aim of reaching 2900. So here's a picture of Magnus approaching the chessboard, Anish putting out his hand for a handshake, and there they have a strong handshake between the two. And off we began. Magnus started with d4. I'll take you through the opening as well. Very focused was Carlsen, and Anish was, surprised in the opening perhaps. It was a fantastic game, and we are going to go through it. You can see Magnus was very confident walking around while the game was going on. Here he is watching the games in the challengers section. The world champion always likes to, keep an eye on any new ideas or what's happening. He is a chess lover after all. So let's go to the game and see what happened. Okay, so Magnus has the white pieces. Anish is black. The game starts off with 1d4. Knight f6, c4 and e6 was played. Here, knight to f3 and black went for d5. Magnus now played g3, and immediately everyone realized that Magnus is using his preparation of the world championship that he has prepared against Nepo, and he's going to use it here. So Anish had to be careful, but also Anish was part of the world championship in a way where he was commentating online for Chess 24, and he was keeping a very close eye on all that was happening. So bishop e7, bishop g2, castles. We had a very mainstream position. D takes c4, the open Catalan, and now queen c2 has been the main line. Anish might have prepared b5 just like Nepo, or may have even gone for a6, but Magnus here surprised him with knight to a3. Now this move is not completely new, because this has been played before by Dubov against Wesley So, and Dubov was part of Team Carlsen. You want to take back the pawn on c4 with your knight, which would be a big success. But hey, Anish, after thought of 2 minutes 34 seconds, chops off that knight. Just, these 2.5 minutes is to settle in. Of course, he knows what to play for it, but just to recollect his analysis. B takes a3. And if you look at this position, and if you do not like doubled pawns, that too isolated ones, you are not going to like white's position, because these two pawns look really very sick. However, in return for that, white has the bishop pair, which is very important, and the position is semi-open. So once the knight jumps here, this bishop is going to be very active. Also, the bishop on c1 can make its way to b2, or you push the pawn to a4 and get it on a3 on this long diagonal. bd7 was played here, and now the main line here is knight e5, and after bishop c6 you take, and you could also take on c6, spoil black structure, but this is around equal. You can also play bishop b2. This was played in Dubov versus So. But Magnus had a new idea up his sleeve, maybe courtesy Daniel Dubov, played the move a4 here. And the move a4 now has the bishop coming out here, hitting the rook. So rook, bishop c6, now bishop went to a3, rook e8 and queen c2. Here Anish thought for nearly 12 minutes 55 seconds, so clearly he was out of his book. And I believe once Magnus had played this move a4, it was very difficult for Anish to be, to have prepared against it. So bishop c6 was also played after 4 minutes of thought. Knight bd7. Now you cannot take this pawn just yet, because after knight b6 the a4 pawn would be hanging. So first Magnus played rook a c1, And now if you play something like knight b6, then I can go a5, kick the knight away. So a6 was played, and this was done after a heavy 27.5 minutes of thought. Magnus took the pawn, knight b6, and queen came back to c3. 16 minutes by Magnus, so he was also now innovating on the board. The a4 pawn is hanging and you need to take it. Taking with the knight looks the most natural, which was done by Anish, but taking with the bishop was not completely wrong. I would say, in fact, it was playable. After queen c7, rook c7, knight f d5, black has a fine position. You can't take on b7 because bishop c6 traps the rook. Bishop a4 could be met with knight e5, but after c6, the position is complicated. Yes, white has good space with e4, but black is a solid pawn up, and maybe it should be around equal compensation for white. But in the game, Anish decided to take with the knight, also hitting the queen with a tempo, and it was a very natural move. Queen b3. And here I think it would have been very, very exciting to see what Magnus would have done if Anish would have just got his knight back to b6. I mean, how would Magnus have continued in this position? I am interested to know. But I think what he might have done is he would have taken on c6, this exchange sacrifice, and tried to play for compensation after knight e5. That could have been what Magnus would have tried. And that's also the reason why Anish played queen d5. He didn't want rook takes c6 to happen. But I would like you to pause the video here and try to think, what should white play now? Magnus comes up with this pretty move, rook takes c6. Just what Anish wanted to prevent, perhaps. Well, you can't take b takes c6 because queen takes a4 is hanging, and if you take on b3, then I can take back, and after that a4 would hang. So the only move is queen takes c6, defending this knight. Now look at Magnus, he is down a pawn and an exchange, so he's 3 points down. But after knight e5, you can see his knight is well placed. The bishop is excellent. This bishop is looking down the long diagonal. So it's quality over quantity. Queen b5, only move. Queen came back to c2. And now you have a threat of rook b1, trying to attack the queen. Here, once again, knight b6 had to be preferred. And after, let's say, a move like queen c7, there is knight b d7, protecting the f7 pawn from any attacks, and black should be doing fine here. But bishop b7 was more accurate, and here knight c4 is a nice move by black, which keeps him in the game. b7 is hanging, so you take on a8, knight a3, queen c6, and queen e2. The position is around equal here. But Anish went wrong with knight d5 in this position. He played it after 14 minutes of thought, and Magnus, after 2 minutes 54 seconds, went rook b1. He attacked the queen and asked Anish, where are you going? Well, Anish decided to put his queen to a5. And this is where, again, try to pause the video and think, what would you do here with white? So one idea is to play knight c4. It looks natural because you want to trap the queen, but after queen c3, queen a4, b5, black is better. So you can't do that. The other idea could be to take on b7, but once again that is met with knight a b6, and black is once again doing very well. Magnus played bishop takes d5 after 4.5 minutes. Could it be something that Anish didn't consider? Maybe, because he recaptured after 17.5 minutes. These times that I am telling you really give a lot of insights into the game. By the way, queen d5 was possible because after queen a4, first I pushed this away, knight d3, queen a2. Black is having some bit of compensation here. I mean, it's fighting on. White is better, but black can still play on. One more thing which Magnus could have done and which is very, very interesting is this move bishop e4. It's very tough to see this move because after g6 you now want to take, which would weaken the dark squares. The other thing is that if you go, let's say knight f6, then bishop b7, rook b8 and knight c6 is winning. But bishop d5 and a mistake by Anish, he took with the pawn. His last chance was to take with the queen, and now came a very nice move. Once again, let's pause the video here and try to think what should white play. Rook takes b7, and you will see that if you go deep into the game, the thing which is a real issue for black is the fact that his king has become weak now. This is a big issue in the position. And now also one more issue is that the queen is getting trapped with bishop b4. So thanks to these both the problems, it's very difficult. Like for example, if you want to play a move like f6, bishop b4 traps the queen. If you first give a check, king g2, and then try to play f6, then after queen takes c7, it's a checkmate here. So in variations, you will see that either the black queen is in trouble or the black king. So after rook takes b7, let's say something like knight c3 is met with bishop b4. White is better. And in the game, c5 was played, and I really liked how Magnus finished this game. First queen f5, threatening a checkmate by taking on f7. So rook f8 was played, and now knight f7, boom, awesome move. Threats like knight h6 are in the air, also queen e6 is in the air, queen d8, d takes c5 was played, and another very nice move. By the way, white could have taken on d8, but then after rook f5 the game still goes on. So d takes c5, Magnus just believes in the position. He knows that he is going to go c6. His bishop is very powerful here. And very interestingly, after queen f6, oh, if you go queen c8, I have queen d5, which is winning. So after queen f6, white took, pawn takes, check here, king h8 and c6. Now once again, that quality of white pieces is what gives him the better chances here. Completely winning position after rook f8, c7. And while I was doing live commentary, the viewers pointed out that this rook on a8 has never moved in this game. Knight c3, bishop b2 by Magnus, d4, and now a check, king g7, knight came to d6, king g6, so that, you know, if you move away the rook, let's say to some square, c8 queen doesn't come with a check, so he moved a king up. King f1, another move that shows how much Magnus believes in his position. He's very calm, cool. Knight b5, takes on c8, takes a4, take on c7, and bishop d4. White is 2 pawns up, and after knight e6, bishop e3, Anish had enough. He resigned the game, and Magnus won. What a brilliant victory by Magnus. It's right now 1 a.m. in the night in India. My battery has also gone off, but I hope that you enjoyed the analysis here. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Let me just put the battery so that you can see me one final time before I end this video. Well, it will take just a second. I don't exactly know at what point the battery went off because I was busy analyzing, but I think it's a nice memory for this. Well, I'm back here. Thank you all, and a great game by Magnus. With this, he is inching towards his aim of reaching 2900. He's now 2867 in the live rank rating list. Take care, guys. Bye bye.